Well, good morning, my darlings. I'm coming to you guys as promised with a video. Actually, it's story time. I'm going to tell you guys a story. It's a true story. It's a true story. It's an unbelievable story, but it's a true story. Um, the name of the story is She Got Away with Unaliving Her Daughter. This is the story of Babette and Venus. The names in this story are going to be changed to protect the innocent and for copyright protection. So let's get started. I believe I was 32 years old. This was in 1990. My mother and I were having issues, so she had kicked me out. Now, Babette had babysat my youngest son for a little while. Unbeknownst to me, the girl had mental illness. Somehow she took very good care of my child, but she neglected her own. So she took very good care of my child, like I said, and she was actually living right next door to me at the time. But when she let my baby fall out of a bunk bed, my husband and I stopped her from keeping the baby, keeping our son. So now, fast forward to 2 years later, my mom and I were still living at home. My mom and I, we always had tumultuous relationship. And so she had kicked me out for whatever reasons. And so Babette had gotten an apartment at the end of the block down the street from where my mom lived. So she let me move in with her. I was paying her rent and everything, my son and I. And Babette had 6 children, and she was pregnant with the 7th. Now, I didn't know that Babette was mentally disturbed until years later, after this whole unaliving incident occurred. I should have known because the home that she lived in, the apartment that she had with those 6 kids, was literally a garbage dump. I mean, this place was so filthy, so nasty. She had 2 industrial-sized garbage cans in her home filled to the brink with trash. The floors, you couldn't even see the floors because it had so much debris, garbage, just so much stuff on the floor till you couldn't even see the actual floor. Now, one time, as I was walking through, I saw the top of a can. You know how you open up a can? I saw the top of a can on the floor. Mind you, my 2-year-old son is living with me down there too. So I got that up. I used to clean up because I wasn't raised in filth. I wasn't raised like that. So I used to clean up, but those kids did not appreciate it. She didn't make them, clean up. And when I cleaned up, they would mess right back up, and I would get so frustrated. Like, don't you guys want to live in a clean environment? But it didn't matter. So anyway, let's fast forward to the children. Like I said, she had 6 children, was pregnant with 1 on the way. I'm going to change their names. Let's say there was Greg. There was Buddha. I don't even remember his real name. There was Nakia. She had, let's say, Alicia. I think it was 4 girls and 2 boys. And she was pregnant with the last one. That last one, I've since found out he's already deceased. So, and then there was Venus. Venus was 2 years old, like my son was 2 years old. And they were thick as thieves. This is an important part leading up to the whole story. They were thick. My son and Venus were thick as thieves. They were both 2 years old. Wherever she went, he went. Wherever he went, she went. We called them a little old married couple. That's how close they were. Toddlers. So let's fast forward to June of 2000, no, June of 1990. Because like I said, my son was born in 88, so it was 2 years later, that's 1990. So here it is, a June day, it's the last day of school, and I left to go and get my other children's report cards. I had 2 other children. I left to go to the school to pick up their report cards, last day of school, and it was hot that day. Oh, it was hot. So anyway, I got back, and then I stayed with the children while she went to get her kids' report cards. So when Babette returned home, I don't know if she was hot, frustrated, but let me say this too. To show you how mentally disturbed this girl was, I had given her a skirt outfit. I loved it, but it had gotten too big for me. So I gave it to her. Mind you, this chick is like 7, 8 months pregnant, about to blow. She wore that skirt outfit for 3 weeks. 3 weeks. And I'm telling you, one day I stood next to her, and the fumes from up under that skirt made my eyes water. Now, if that don't tell you somebody's mentally disturbed, I don't know what will. That means she didn't bathe, she didn't wash her butt. Now, she's pregnant. Okay? And this girl was, oh my God. Anyway, like I said, it was a hot day. She had gotten her kids' report cards and come back home. So Venus was crying. She was screaming and hollering, crying. Let me backtrack a little bit. Now, Venus's father, Babette allowed Venus to go stay with her father for the weekend, and she found out that he had taken her out of state. So she threatened him with the police and everything, and saying he's never gonna see her again, and yada yada yada. And so he brought her back. Okay, so now let's go back to June, that hot day when she went and got the report card. So when Babette got back home, Venus was crying and screaming and hollering. I don't know, she was irritated. She needed a nap, whatever it was. But anyway, I remember Babette fixing Venus a bottle. The bottle was one of those plastic bottles. It was a light green bottle. I'll never forget it. She had her back turned to me, and she fixed Venus a bottle, right? She gave Venus the bottle. Venus got the bottle, and she went into the next room. She got into this big oversized chair. She laid back, turned the bottle up, and went to sleep. This is like 3 o'clock, 3 o'clock in the afternoon. So, you know, the day just went on and everything. Around 7 o'clock, she had fried some chicken legs. I don't like chicken legs, but that girl could fry some chicken legs. So, yeah, I loved her chicken legs. Anyway, all the kids were sitting down to eat wherever they could find a spot, but Venus was still asleep. Now, this is from like 2 to 7 at 2 years old. Venus was still asleep. So I was like, she must have been really tired. You know, sometimes a child will sleep a whole day. That's what I was thinking. So anyway, time went on. You know, I had a boyfriend. She had a boyfriend. And, you know, we were playing cards, having a good time. The kids were playing. It's summertime. So now it's around 1 o'clock in the morning. Venus is still asleep. So I took Venus from that chair and I placed her into the bed. I placed her into the bed in the room where they slept at. And so somebody's trying to call me. Can you just stop letting the phone ring, please? Oh, you interrupted my... Okay, it's gone. So anyway, I put Venus in the bed, right? That's 1 o'clock in the morning. Now, from 2 o'clock to 1 o'clock in the morning, Venus is still asleep. So now the next morning around 8 o'clock, all the other kids were back woke, including my child, and Venus was still asleep. So I said, wow, she must be sick. Babette came running out of the next room. And I said, she must be sick. How is she sleeping this long? So I tried to arouse her, pushing her, shaking her, calling her name. Nothing. I lifted her arm up, it fell back down, just lifeless, limp. So I opened her eyes, and oh my God, it scared me so bad. Her pupils were dilated, and there was a film coating over her eyeballs. And then I could hear this rattling in her chest. So I was like, oh my God, she must have pneumonia. And so Babette started screaming and hollering. I said, go call the paramedics. Go call the paramedics. So the paramedics came. And wait, let me backtrack. Venus was filthy. Her feet were black as tar. Now, mind you, my child was there. My husband at the time, he took good care of that kid. He came and got his clothes every week and washed them. Made sure he had everything he needed. So, with Venus being that filthy, I said, let me change her clothes, let me clean her up, because if they come in here and see this baby like this, they subject to take my baby out of here too, and saying that we're neglecting these kids, but we weren't neglecting them. Now, one of Babette's children had CPS was already in her life. One of her children had eaten some prenatal vitamins a while ago. Another baby ate some perm. This is how nasty the house was. Stuff all over the floor. Another baby ate some perm before. One time that baby was having an asthma attack, and she would not take her to the hospital. I took her because I'm like, they're not going to come here and hold me responsible for neglect because we're not taking this child to the hospital. So I took her to the hospital. So back to this day, I changed Venus's clothes. I washed her up, and I could just hear this rattling all in her chest, right? Still no life to her. As I changed her and laid her in my lap waiting for the paramedics to come, she peed. I didn't know that was a last pee, but she peed on me. So I was like, oh my goodness. So now the paramedics have arrived. They've taken Venus into the ambulance and they're working on her. I don't know what they were doing in there, but it seemed like forever. And then they pulled off and went to the hospital. So I don't remember how we got to the hospital, Babette and I. But while we were in the hospital, at one point they told us to go into the chaplain waiting room, and I'm like, what? So, nothing dawned on me yet. I'm thinking this baby just got pneumonia somehow, and she's just sick. So at another point, the chaplain came back out and said, call your family. It's still not registering what's going on because I've never been through this. So, but Babette was pacing back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. So at another point, I saw staff going down the hall with what was like a defibrillator or something. I didn't know it was for Venus. Okay, but sooner or later, they came out. The police and the doctors came out, and they said, I'm sorry, your baby died. And I was like, oh my God. It hit me so hard. I'm like, it was just so unbelievable because there was nothing wrong with that baby. There was nothing wrong with her. Okay, and so I was hysterical. I went to the phone. I called my mom. I said, Mama, that baby died. She died. Mama, that baby died. My mother was at the hospital. She hung up the phone. She was at the hospital in no time to get me. But anyway, before my mother got there, Babette started screaming and running back and forth in the hospital lobby. And the police said, calm down and tell us what happened to your baby. Okay, click. Still didn't register. So what happened was they found a lot of phenobarbital in Venus's system. Phenobarbital is for seizures, epilepsy. Now, her oldest daughter, Anika, I'm gonna call her Anika, Tanika, whatever. She had seizures, and she took her own she took accountability and took her own medication, but because that girl didn't like having those seizures, but that medicine was in a bedroom, and there was this dresser there, and there was a hutch on top of the dresser. Tanika would have to climb up there. I remember she was 10. She would climb up there and get her medicine every day and take it and put it back up there. Now, let's just say that accidentally there were pills all over the floor, and Venus somehow got those pills and ate them. No. A 2-year-old child, first of all, if Venus had ate some, my baby would have eaten some too, because that's how close they were. They were toddlers, and we know what toddlers do. So if Venus had eaten some of those pills, she would have chewed them up and spit them out because they would be nasty, right? Same thing with my baby. If they had chewed up those pills, put them in their mouths, they would have spit them out because of the nasty taste of them. So I was like, phenobarbital, how did phenobarbital get in the baby's system? Tanika was too responsible with her medication for that medicine to be on the floor. So now Venus is gone. Babette, let me get to this part. So we go back home. Next thing I know, the police are at her house. They take myself and Babette to the police station. And they separated us. They put us in different rooms. I'm still just like unaware of the whole, all I know is Venus is gone. I don't know what happened, or who did it, or anything. What happened? So how did this medicine get in her system? So the police took us in these interrogation rooms, and they asked me so many questions, and then they would say, how'd the baby get so wet? And I said, she peed on me. They asked me another slew of questions. And then, how'd the baby get so wet? And then they asked me another slew of questions. And then, how'd the baby get so wet? She peed. And then it hit me. Uh-oh. They think somebody did something to this baby, right? So they accepted what I told them. And I asked them if I could make a phone call. They said, yeah. So I went to call my mom to tell her, go get my baby. Because something ain't right. Something's not right. When I called my mom's house, her husband answered the phone. And I said, James, tell mama to go get my baby. And James said she already gone to get him. My mother was smart. She knew. And I thank God for it, because my baby would have been gone too. They took all her children. They took all those kids. Okay? It never was confirmed what happened to Venus. They know, they figured it must have been an accident, that Venus somehow got a hold of those pills and that killed her. No way. I lived there. There was no way. They probably just didn't even care. It was a little black baby. They didn't care to investigate, do anything else. I don't know what Annette told them when they were questioning her. Okay, but because she had a CPS case already with one of her children eating prenatal vitamins before, I guess they said, where's another accident? No. So now, also, she had a life insurance policy on her. Back then, it wasn't much, it was $20,000. She had a beautiful funeral. At the funeral, the father came up to me and said, Sabrina, what happened to my baby? And all I could tell him was, I don't know. Because they had the report that phenobarbital was in that baby's system, right? So, and I didn't know. I didn't know. So now, like I said, they took all her children. So now I have moved. I think I was 36 by then, 35, 36. Something like, no, I'm going to say I was like 34. But anyway, I was about 35 when I was telling this guy this story in Minnesota. And all of a sudden, it hit me. Boom. When I went over the steps, the succession of events, God downloaded the answer to me. She unalived that baby. When she made her that bottle that day, because Venus never woke back up after that. She was hollering and screaming before that. And she made her that bottle, and Venus never woke back up. She was mad at the father, saying he's never going to see her again. And when she made that bottle, she put that phenobarbital in that baby's bottle. Okay, now, and I think it was like 18 pills, because it was like on the 12th, on the June 12th, somewhere right around there. And it was a 30-day supply of pills. So it had to be 18 phenobarbital pills in Venus's bottle. Venus never woke back up. She slowly drifted to sleep forever. Venus is forever 2 years old. Beautiful baby. Oh, she was just so beautiful. Chocolate skin. She had this pretty wavy, soft black hair. And Babette used to smack Venus in the back right out of the tub, slap her down to her knees. You know, because she was mad at the daddy. So anyway, when God downloaded this to me, that she indeed put those phenobarbital in Venus's bottle, it hit me like a ton of bricks, because I never could figure out what happened to Venus. And so this chick got away with unaliving her child. Now, the question I have is, it's been so long, Venus does not have justice. You know, I'm sure her mom, God probably has whipped her and whipped her for what she's done. She probably is suffering, has suffered, if she's still alive, because I know that the last baby that she had, he's already gone. He's deceased. I don't know what happened with the other children. You know, I do know that the CPS did take them all. I don't know what has happened to them after that. But I did read recently somewhere that the last baby was already deceased. You know. And I think he was unalived as well. But the only thing, I don't let it bother me, because at some point I believe that Venus has her justice, because Babette has probably been whipped real good by God. But what would you do? Would you contact the authorities after all this time and tell them what you know, what you believe? Because I thoroughly believe that she unalived her baby. I'm sure of it. I'm sure of it. I know she had her back turned to me, and she was putting those pills in that baby's bottle. And that baby got that bottle, and she never woke back up. And there was nothing. And you got to think, if the baby, you know, would have ate those pills, my baby would have ate them too. Oh, that scared me so bad. My baby would have gotten a hold of them too. That's how I know. And God I'm talking about, I was telling this story like 5 years later. And all of a sudden, bloop, God downloaded it to me. She unalived that baby. So what would you do? What would you do with this information? Would you go and alert the authorities? Would you tell them what you know? What do you think will come of it now? You know, it's a closed case. And so I just have to I don't wrestle with that. I just, if God wants me to do anything, just like he downloaded that information back then, he would tell me what to do. But I'm going to say this. I know that Venus is resting in peace. Her life was cut short. It was cut unfairly. She didn't deserve that. And I don't know. I don't know if she's ever going to get justice. Because her mom collected that money. I don't know how much the funeral cost. It was a beautiful service, But the father contacted me a little while ago, and I was ready to tell him what I knew. And he kept putting me off. He acted like he wanted to know. He wanted to hear what I had to say, but he kept putting me off. So I left it alone too. But this is my story. It's a true story. And, leave your comments and questions in the comment section, and I'll answer them the best that I can. And I thank you all for listening. And, tell me what you think I should do. Okay, please like, share, and subscribe to my video, Sabrina's Thoughts of Love. I'm going to continue to have story time. It'll probably be events of my life, or, people that I know or come across. Of course, I'm not going to get too personal in somebody else's life, but I'm going to be doing story time. Okay? All right, you all have a good day. Bye-bye. Be blessed.